Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is Into the Weekend with BetDSI for NFL Week 11. Of course, this is a show where we talk to Brent from the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook, and he gives us all the information he has regarding the notable public and sharp action that he's taken over the week. Brent, there's a lot of interesting games in the NFL this week that I want to ask you about. I'm guessing there's maybe less sharp action than normal, but we'll see what you have to say. The first game I want to ask you about, Cincinnati, Arizona. Of course, Cincinnati, got their first ATS loss last week. Now they're getting decent points as an underdog at Arizona. I'm wondering, is the public betting on Cincinnati here getting these points?
Well, I'm wondering if I'm ever going to get some kudos from you.
Sure. Well, first of all, the point of this show is not to give out free picks.
You start the show with this. Detroit, 11.5-point dog, outright winner, correct?
Yeah. Listen, Brent, I personally don't really care one way or another whether the Sharps win or lose. It's just interesting to get the information. I know that there are a lot of people who use this show as a way to get free picks that are winners, and that's great for them. But we don't get mad at you if the Sharp information winds up losing, Brent, or at least I don't.
Oh, but you do poke me. I've been poked before. I say, hey, what's going on with these Sharps in the NFL?
Yes,
I'll tell you right now, 5-0 last week. That's all I'm going to say.
Once again, congratulations, Sharps. Enjoy the money, and hope you win again this week, Sharps. I hope the Sharps and the public win this week. What about that?
All right, let's move along. What are you Cincinnati? Is that what it was?
Yes, Cincinnati at Arizona. Cincinnati's getting points, wondering if, the public or the Sharps are attracted to them now after their first ATS loss.
Right now, I've taken a couple of bigger bets from respectable people on Arizona. That came in at -3.5. We've got a line up to 4.5 right now. But if I look at my wager count on this game, it's like dead even. I mean, there's nothing to choose between at all. I have slightly more money because of the bigger bet that came in at -3.5 on Arizona. But other than that, there's nothing really sharp involved. We'll call it pseudo at the 3.5 of Arizona. But I've got good volume back and forth on both teams, and there's the total. I don't know, it seems kind of high for me, but that's mostly driven by public. I mean, my count is about 3-1 on the over there, so it's going to be an interesting game. Right now, if I was going to say, hey, I got sharp action one way or another, it would be the early bet on Arizona 3.5. But it is nothing that I'm going to say, hey, jump on this if you can.
All right, I think that's what I would have expected to hear. And then Green Bay, Minnesota, another game I want to ask you about. Minnesota, of course, covered 8 games in a row. Unbelievable. And Green Bay, yes, one of the sides the Sharps faded big time last week. Green Bay has lost 3 in a row straight up as a favorite. I'm wondering if there's any. My guess is there's no sharp action on this game as yet.
It's really interesting because Green Bay just might not be the team they used to be. Now, that's not going to stop the public from betting them, and that's kind of the case with this game. I do have it's only about 2-1 in favor of Green Bay in terms of the actual number of wagers I've taken, but I do have a slightly more money on Minnesota, and I did take sharp money at pick. Now, we have Minnesota -1 right now. Our total is 44.5, and I've got over money, which is typical, again, probably a wager count of about 3-1, typical over money when Green Bay is involved. But I did get sharp action on the opening number of a pick, Peter.
All right, and then I have to ask you about Carolina, right? Feels like they're starting to turn into a public side. The public backed them, I believe, against the Titans and cashed with them there. This week, they're a 7 or 7.5 point home favorite against Washington. Is Carolina once again a big public side this week?
Yeah, it's easy to like a team like Carolina just because their offense is moving so well. We're going to need Washington. That's no surprise at all.
Yeah.
My wager count is it's about 3-1 in favor of Carolina, so I do have a lot of public money on Carolina. If you look at my teaser money as well, they're one of the highest teased teams of the week as well. So we're sitting right now at Carolina -7, -115. That probably will go up. I don't know. I get a sneaky suspicion that if it goes much higher, like 7.5 and stuff like that, you might see Sharps the other way. But again, I really don't know which way the Sharps are going to go. Of course, we sit here and fish with our numbers. So we're sitting 7 -15. We may go -20. If it gets out of hand, we may go 7.5 and just kind of get a feel for what it's going to take to get some money back. Like I said, right now I don't have any big bets back on Washington at all. I've just got public money on Carolina, and why not?
That's basically what I would have expected. It's interesting that there's no sharp action as yet coming in the other way against Carolina. Brent, what can you tell us about notable action you've taken from the rest of the NFL Week 11 card?
I'm going to say I'm surprised that you didn't ask me about Denver-Chicago, just because this is one of those games that just is it's just so interesting kind of for me in terms of.
No, I wanted to. That was on the short list.
Let me do that for you. We'll lengthen the list a little bit. There's just so many questions about it, but I've got really good wagering action on this game. I did get respectable money on Chicago when it was a pick. I got sharp money as well on Denver when it was +1, like -110 and stuff for them. So between 1 and a pick has been pretty good two-way action with this game. I do have slightly more, more wagers on Denver, which maybe, public money thinking that, they're just better, and the defense still should be pretty strong. So it's just it's just another example I wanted to bring it up because my action's been so good just between -1 either way. A pick as well has worked. So it should probably stay around that number, I would think, unless the sharps come involved. I've got slightly more under money. Again, that might be, the faith people have in Denver's defense and maybe not so much faith in Denver's new quarterback. So getting down to the sharp action, Oakland at Detroit. I do have sharp action on this game, and it was on Detroit. Detroit is at home, and they're a 1-point favorite now. The sharp action that I did take was +1. I do have a wager count of it's about 3-1 in favor of Oakland. It seems like Oakland's kind of a team to get on the bandwagon now for all of a sudden. They've been kicked for so long, and people are kind of liking them. At least they kind of, the light at the tunnel for Oakland might not be a train any longer. But Detroit, as bad as they've been, they're getting support here from the sharp guys sitting at 2-7. But Detroit +1 was sharp.
Wait, let me just ask you this again,
yeah.
Brent. You've told us many, many weeks that the sharp action has come in on Detroit. In a London game, they took sharp action. And, of course, Detroit, after last week, is now 2-7 against the spread this year. In years past, it feels like the sharps have gotten burned with Detroit. Why does the sharps keep betting Detroit over and over again? And it feels like they don't do well with them.
I can't tell you why they like them.
Right, but haven't you noticed that Detroit tends to get a lot of sharp action on more than most teams?
I could sit here and justify why the Sharps are betting on Detroit, but you'd have to ask someone sharper than you or I, Peter.
All right, Sharps on Detroit once again this week. What can I say? What else can you tell us, Brent?
I can say that Dallas we got sharp action, and I'm kind of scratching my head because I can't really figure that one out as well. I don't know. I just thought this line was just kind of sit around and pick for the whole time and maybe have Miami be a slight favorite, but I did take sharp action on Dallas. I had to pick them. In terms of my betting action, count is about 2-1 in favor of Dallas, and because of the sharp action, my money's about the same, 2-1. Indianapolis Colts at Atlanta. Colts +6. That was a sharp bet as well. We're down to Atlanta -5.5 right now. My wager count slightly favors the Colts, and my money slightly favors them as well, but nothing huge. But I did take sharp action. Indianapolis +6. We touched on Minnesota at a pick as well, and Kansas City is probably the most consensus sharp play that we'll have. We're seeing 3 -120 right now. We haven't gotten off 3, but the sharp action did come in on Kansas City -3. I have a couple of guys who went that way. I've actually have more bets on San Diego, which I find kind of surprising. I don't know. They seem kind of messy, and I kind of like the sharps here getting Kansas City -3. And I mean, it wouldn't be the show if I didn't try and entice people to bet on Buffalo at New England. I mean, betting against New England, please, we're begging you to. But I did. I have to say, I did take sharp action on Buffalo. First hit was +9.5, and even +7 even money was sharp action on Buffalo. So, we're going to need Buffalo for sure. My count already is about 4-1 in favor of New England. No surprise there. But Buffalo +9.5, Buffalo +7 even money was sharp as well. Teaser action this week is really only New England and Carolina who's carrying the ball in terms of the teaser action. Everything else is pretty much split. But on paper, it looks like a really good week, Peter.
All right. Interesting information. As always, Brent from BetDSI. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks so much.